Hey everyone, hope you're staying safe while we're on lockdown. While we are on lockdown, I'll be providing some workouts for you all so that way you guys can stay in shape, be ready to go when we are free to get back into our normal activity, whatever that might be. So we will be focusing on providing easy workouts for you that require little to no equipment to help you stay in shape. As for today, we're going to require just a little bit of equipment. We'll need a band, light resistance band, and a chair. Hopefully 2 very easy things for you to have laying around. Our programming today will be a pretty simple structure. We're going to go through a mobility phase in the beginning, and then we're going to have 2 groups of exercises that we're going to do, and I'll break those down as we go through them, just so you know what you're doing and you'll have the ability to kind of go through that programming on your own. So with our mobility, we are going to start with our band pull-aparts. So we'll need our band for these first 2 exercises, and that'll be the only time you really need the band. So your band pull-apart, we're going to start with your arms straight out, band out in front of you here, and you're going to focus on squeezing your shoulder blades, squeezing them as you pull back. So it'll look like this. As you're going through the exercise, like I said, just make sure you keep your arms straight. Make sure that as you're pulling through your shoulder blades, so through the back, more than trying to use your arms in the front of your shoulders to squeeze and pull the band back. And that would be your band pull apart. So the second exercise that we have that we're going to be doing is diagonal abduction. Again, we'll need our band for this one. You're going to step on the band with your opposite foot. We're going to take the band, we're going to loop it around. Make sure you have a good grip on your band. Like I said, make sure you have a good grip on the band. From here, we're going to open and back down. Open, close. As you're going through this, we want to make sure that our arm stays straight. As we come to the top of the exercise, we want to make sure that your palm is face up. As you open up, make sure that you're pulling through your shoulder, a little bit more in the deltoid, so the front of your shoulder, as you're going through. So the next exercise that we have is our inchworm. As we're going through this, we're going to crawl out, come back. All right, make sure we keep our legs straight as we crawl out and come back. We want to make sure that you're going to feel a little bit of a stretch through your hamstrings. Make sure that your arms work to stay straight and keep your core tight as you're going through this. So it'll look like this. So as you go through your inchworm, it's going to be important, like I said, try to keep your legs straight. If you can't walk your hands all the way back towards your feet, that's okay. You just don't come back as far. Make sure that you have good form as you're going through. Like I said, keep your core tight, and it should be a good warm up for your shoulders as well as good mobility for the back of your legs. The next exercise that we have is going to be the over-under. So we are going to step over a hurdle, and then we're going to go under the hurdle. We're going to want to make sure that we pick up both legs to go over, and then we want to make sure that we drop our hips and we step with both feet to go under as we're going through it. All right, so we're going to work on some rotation internally and externally with your hips as you're going over and under. So it'll look like this. Over, under. Step up, open, over, drop under. Go back the other way. Open, both legs come up, drop down, open, drop down. So that is the over-under that you'll be doing. All right, make sure, like I said, you're just focused on opening up your hips as you're going through it. Make sure that as you're stepping over, you always come back to balance before you make your next movement. All right, and we're not broken trying to go over with one leg and then dragging the back leg. Our last mobility drill is going to be the scapular push-ups. We're going to start in the upright position of a push-up. All right, this is going to help us focus on allowing our shoulder blades to squeeze in, and then as you press up, you're going to pull your shoulder blades apart, focusing on strengthening the posterior, the back of your rotator cuff. All right, so it'll look like this. So that'll be your scapular push-ups, and that will take you through the full mobility circuit. Going through the full mobility circuit, that should take you about 5 to 8 minutes, so you should feel actually pretty warm. You'll also feel pretty loose throughout your hips and your shoulders. Four rounds. In between each of those rounds, you're going to get a 60-second break that should help you recover before you begin your next round. So our first exercise is going to be the single leg RDL or Romanian deadlift. And when you come up, you're going to finish that with a jump. And that should look like this. As you go through the exercise, you might notice that you have a hard time balancing, like I was kind of having a difficult time with the balance myself. If you have to tap down the foot, that's okay. Just make sure that you try to work on staying balanced the entire time. When you go down, we want to make sure we keep our hips squared to the ground, so we're not opening up. Same thing with our chest and our shoulders. Keep that squared. You're going to have a slight bend in the foot that's in contact with the ground. As you lower, just make sure that you're lowering through your hips and you're not bending over. You're letting your hips push back. When you come up, you're going to try to pull through your hips as quickly as possible to come up and be explosive to jump. If you're having difficulty with the balance portion of it, you can always use a chair to help keep yourself balanced and kind of create a modification going through that as well. So our next exercise is going to be the single leg glute bridge. So for that, you're going to want to make sure that you're on the ground. We're going to have one leg picked up in the air. The other leg is going to be, or the other foot, I should say, is going to be flat on the floor. And you're going to pull your hips up, making sure that you squeeze your butt and pull through the hamstrings to pick your leg and your hips up off of the ground. And that'll look like this. As you're going through that, you want to make sure that your hamstring is actually the one doing the work, as well as your butt, your glutes. To pull your hips up, you want to try to make sure that you keep your thigh, your hip, and your spine all in a straight line. Make sure that you keep your core tight and engaged as you're pulling your body up. The last exercise for this group is going to be, I know, one of your favorites. It's the push-up. Nothing special about this one. All right, we're just going to focus on doing as many push-ups as you can in a 30-second period of time. When we do our push-ups, we want good form. We want to make sure that our elbows stay in at a 45, so we're not flared out, super wide shoulders. All right, 45 here as we go through our push-up. Make sure your chest and your hips drop at the same time. All right, and that'll look like this. As you're going through that, it's all right if you need to modify halfway through. If you start with regular push-ups and you find that it's too difficult to keep going, it's okay to modify, drop to your knees. Just make sure you lower through your hips and your chest again and keep going. So our goal is going to be to do as many push-ups as we can in that 30-second window. And hopefully you're able to increase that number as you get stronger. Our second group of exercises is going to be based off of a time frame circuit. So we're going to do our first exercise followed by a short break, our second exercise followed by a short break all the way through. Once you go through and you complete your first round, you're going to take a 60-second break. You're going to get 4 rounds to complete group 2, all right? So the first exercise that we're going to do with group 2 is going to be a lateral leap. You're going to start on one leg, work to stay balanced, make sure you load, and then you're going to jump or you're going to leap sideways onto your opposite leg and make sure that you hold that landing when you hit the ground, all right? We're gonna work to jump as far as we can under as much control as you can, all right? So if you're out of control and you're jumping really far, you're gonna wanna back down a little bit. We wanna make sure that we land under control and that we're balanced through each of those leaps. So it should look like this. As you're going through, you'll want to make sure that you're actually loaded every time you land before you jump again. Like I said, we're going to work to be explosive and continuous with our movement under control. Our second exercise in the series is going to be a Bulgarian split squat, one of my personal favorites. All right, as you're going through this will be where you need your chair. You're going to put the top of your foot right on the edge of the chair. And it doesn't even need to be a chair, it could be a couch, it could be a table, whatever is gonna be roughly between your knees and your waist for height, all right? You'll put one foot on top of the chair, and then we're gonna go down as if we are lunging, and you're gonna make sure that both knees drop and bend as you go down. You wanna make sure that you keep your spine relatively straight, and when you come up, you're gonna wanna try to pull up out of the movement rather than pushing into the floor. So it should look like this. So you'll want to make sure, like I said, you focus on pulling through the movement as you come up. All right, that's going to focus on the back half of your legs, your hamstrings, and your glutes as you come up. Make sure that the top of your foot is on the edge of the chair, not too far back. If you push too far back, then you'll be trying to go over your shin at the corner, and that's not going to feel too good. So I just make sure that your placement for your foot is right at the edge, and it's the top of your foot, which will help you stay a little more balanced versus your toe. All right. The third exercise that you're going to be doing is a sumo squat. All right. That's going to be very similar to your normal squat. You're just going to put your feet about 2 to 3 times shoulder width apart. So it's a much wider base than a normal squat. And you're also going to angle your toes out a little bit more. So that way you're actually pushing your knees a little farther as you go down into your squat. All right. So that'll look like this. So you start with your feet a little wider, toes angled out. You're going to squat down. When you squat down, you're going to pull your knees out so they track with your toes. That means that whichever way your toe is pointing, that's the direction you're going to want your knees to come out as you squat. So come down, back up. Just like a normal squat, you want to make sure that you keep your core tight to help brace and protect your back. We're also looking to try to keep your spine in a neutral position. That means that you're not rounding through your back when you squat. Likewise, you're not pulling your chest back where you feel like your spine is pushing in to try to sit straight up and down. The last exercise for this group is going to be a hollow hold. It's a great core exercise. It's a great way to finish each round, to really focus on a nice strong core, and also a great way to just kind of push yourself to failure. So that will look like this. As you're going through your hollow hold, you'll want to make sure that your arms come straight out, your feet straight out. You're going to pick your feet up, pick your shoulders up so your butt is the only thing in contact with the floor. Really focus on contracting, keeping that core nice and tight to hold that position. All right. If you're having difficulty with that movement, as I'm sure probably some of you will, then all you have to do to really make an adjustment is you can either drop your arms down so you're not holding them over your head. You can also raise your legs up, which will make the movement a little easier just to hold that position. Or if you're still having difficulty, you can actually just drop your feet so that way they stay on the ground while keeping a nice tight contraction through your stomach to really kind of focus on tightening and keeping that core strong. So that wraps up our workout for the week here. We hope you guys have as much fun with it as we did. Really, if you're looking to get yourself in shape, this is a great way to start and just make sure that you're pushing yourself and helping yourself be ready when you guys return back to competition, hopefully within the next month or whatever that might look like. In the meantime, if you're interested in our workout for next week, don't forget to check back, as we'll be updating and continuing to upload more workouts for you guys coming up.